You and I live in a world governed by invisible laws, principles that are as constant as gravity and as decisive as fire. And one of the most extraordinary, most misunderstood of these laws is this: you get what you ask for, but only if you do something first. And that something, which we'll explore together over the next 30 minutes, holds the key to your health, your wealth, your peace of mind, your career, and the quality of your relationships. It's a key that unlocks every locked door you've ever stood in front of, wondering why others seem to be moving forward while you remain stuck. And once you understand it, not just in theory, but in the marrow of your bones, you'll look back on this moment as a dividing line in your life. Because this is the truth: what you ask for earnestly, deliberately, and consistently will come to you. But not because the universe is some kind of wish-granting machine. It comes because you prepare the inner soil to receive it. And if you don't do that work first, no amount of asking will bring the harvest you seek. Before we go deeper into that law, let me ask something simple of you. If the message you're about to hear speaks to you, if it resonates even a little, then take a moment right now to subscribe, to like, to make this voice a recurring part of your journey. It's a small act, but like all seeds, it yields more than it costs. These teachings, like the great truths they come from, are meant to be returned to, repeated, absorbed through reflection. And if they've helped you even a little, then you're helping someone else by making it easier for them to find this path too. Now let us begin. The reason most people do not get what they want in life is because they never truly ask. Oh, they wish, they hope, they occasionally whisper a desire under their breath, but they do not ask with power. They do not ask with action. They do not ask with belief. To ask with power is to do the inner work first, the work of clarity, of discipline, and of faith. You must first become the kind of person who can receive what you are asking for. Not in title, not in status, but in mind, in thought, in rhythm. To ask for wealth without first uprooting poverty, thinking is like planting roses in sand and expecting them to bloom. And so the first task we face is this: to define clearly what we want, and then to begin the inner transformation that aligns us with it. Because the law is simple, brutally simple. You will not receive what you are not prepared to carry. So the first principle, and it may be the most important of all, is this: clarity precedes power. If you do not know what you want, you cannot receive it. A ship without a destination is just a piece of metal tossed by the wind. You must write it down. You must see it in your mind. You must be able to say it in a single sentence. And you must review it every single morning of your life until the image burns into your consciousness so deeply that your subconscious can begin to move mountains to bring it to life. Write it on a card, put it in your wallet, place it on your desk, look at it before bed. Think about it as you rise, speak it aloud, let it become part of your very breath. Because what you are doing is not just stating a desire, you are programming your most powerful tool, your mind, to recognize opportunities, to respond with courage, and to rise with purpose. Now, once you've done that, something remarkable begins to happen. Your thoughts begin to align. Your habits start shifting. Your environment subtly changes, because you are no longer moving randomly through your days. You are moving deliberately with a destination in sight. You become like that ship with its compass locked onto a point across the sea. And though you may not see land for days or weeks, you know you're on course. You trust the map. You trust the laws. And most of all, you trust that you are the captain. Not your employer, not your friends, not the circumstances of your birth, you. This is the beginning of mastery. The moment when a man or a woman steps out of the crowd and says, "I will live deliberately." And if you're thinking right now, "Well, Earl, I don't know what I want," then you've already uncovered the first obstacle. Most people don't get what they want because they never slow down long enough to discover what it is. And if they do have an idea, they keep it vague and soft like smoke in the wind. So let me challenge you. Go sit in a quiet room for 30 minutes. Take a piece of paper and ask yourself, what do I really want? If I had no fear of failure, if I trusted that success was mine, what would I reach for? Be honest, be bold. Do not censor yourself. The mind, when free of fear, will reveal things to you you've buried for years. And once those truths rise to the surface, write them down and commit to them. Because what you commit to in writing begins to shape your actions, and what shapes your actions shapes your life. This is not mere theory. It is a law as real as gravity, and it begins with a decision, a single act of clarity that separates you from the drifting 95% who conform, who wander, who react. The moment you decide what you want, really decide, you move yourself into the top 5% of people who know where they're going. And this is where the asking begins. Not with your lips, but with your thoughts, your movement, your energy. The universe is not responding to your casual statements. It's responding to your inner frequency. And that frequency is set by clarity, repetition, and belief. So here's the first commitment I want you to write. Say and comment right now, I know what I want. I believe it is mine. I act like it's already here. Let those words live in you, speak them aloud, write them in the comments, declare them publicly. Because what you declare publicly, you begin to embody privately. And in that declaration, you activate the principle. You bring the law to life. As you think, so shall you become. That's not a suggestion, it's an ancient truth echoed by sages and scientists alike. So say it again, even louder this time. I know what I want. I believe it is mine. I act like it's already here. And here's the truth that most miss. Asking is not just a verbal act, it is a state of being. When you align your thoughts, your words, and your actions with a single clear vision, you have asked in the most powerful way known to man. You've activated what Emerson called the law of compensation. What you plant, you will reap. What you give will be returned. What you ask for when asked rightly must arrive. But it begins with this, clarity. Decision, identity. You must first decide who you are before life can begin to respond to you. And once that identity is anchored, the asking flows naturally. You are no longer pretending, you are expressing. And in that expression, the doors begin to open. So before we move forward, I want you to stop and reflect. Have you made the decision? Have you written it down? Have you stated your identity clearly? If not, pause this message and do it now. This is not a passive listening experience. This is a transformation in motion, a sacred challenge, and it begins with clarity. Because once the mind is clear, the rest of life starts aligning. You will begin to see doors where before you saw only walls. You will recognize opportunity where once there was only confusion. Because you have done the one thing that most never do. You've asked clearly, and you've prepared yourself to receive. And that is where all true progress begins. Now that you've made the decision, and I trust you have, you've already stepped into rare territory. You are no longer drifting with the winds of chance. You've set a course, a direction, a fixed point in your mind. And from this point forward, every thought, every action, and every moment of silence carries a new weight. You've moved from reaction to intention. And as we build on this foundation, let us now examine the second part of this process, preparation. Because the truth is simple. You don't get what you want. You get what you're prepared to receive. And preparation, unlike desire, is not emotional. It is practical. It's what separates the man who wishes from the man who earns. And if you're willing to prepare in the right way, there is no dream too large, no goal too far, and no life beyond your reach. Preparation begins in the mind, but it must descend into action. It's not enough to say, I want a better life. That's just a statement. The question is, what habits are you building? What time are you rising? What are you feeding your mind each morning? Are you preparing for greatness the same way an athlete prepares for competition, daily, deliberately, relentlessly? Because the secret most men overlook is this: you don't rise to the level of your desires, you fall to the level of your disciplines. And the man or woman who asks for much but disciplines little is like the farmer who plants no seed yet demands a harvest. Nature does not respond to emotion. It responds to law. And so must you. One of the greatest disciplines is attention. What you give your attention to expands. If your mind is constantly filled with worry, distractions, and meaningless conversation, then your inner soil has no room left for the seeds of success to grow. This is why so few rise, because they spend their mornings in noise, their afternoons in reaction, and their evenings in escape. The asking begins with focus. When you focus your energy, your life begins to cut through the fog, and suddenly the goal feels less like a dream and more like a direction. This is what makes the top 5% different. They guard their minds, they manage their energy. They understand that preparation is not a single act, it's a lifestyle. Let me ask you, what are you doing today to prepare for the life you claim to want? What are you studying? What are you practicing? What weaknesses are you confronting? And who are you becoming in the process? Most people want success to come and then they'll change. But life works in reverse. You must change first. You must become the person who already deserves the outcome. not after. Before. That's the price. That's the law. So I'll say it again. You don't get what you want. You get what you're prepared to carry. And if the version of you today cannot handle what you seek, then life in its mercy withholds it until you are ready. So how do you know you're preparing correctly? Here's the measure. You begin to change how you feel about time. The man who is preparing for greatness sees time not as something to kill, but as something to craft. He wakes with urgency. He guards his minutes. He eliminates the trivial, because he knows he's on a mission. His life is no longer a blur, it is a sculpture. Every habit is a chisel. Every morning a block of fresh marble, and in this way, he does not just chase the goal, he becomes worthy of it. That is true preparation, and that is where asking becomes receiving. Another indicator of preparation is discomfort. Growth always comes with friction. The habits you must build, the fears you must face, the people you must outgrow. These are not punishments, they are prerequisites. Life does not reward the comfortable. It rewards the courageous. And every step you take outside your comfort zone is a signal to the world. I am serious. I am ready. I am becoming. So the discomfort you feel is not a warning, it is confirmation. Confirmation that you're moving in the right direction, that your old self is being replaced, that your container is expanding to hold the blessing that is already on its way. This is also why so few finish the race, because they ask for something great, but resist the becoming. They want more money without changing their spending. They want deep relationships without changing their honesty. They want confidence without confronting fear. And so they remain stuck, asking but not transforming. But now you know better. Now you understand that the first preparation is within, and that every external result is a mirror of internal development. You are not waiting for success. Success is waiting for you to become ready. So what should you do today? Simple. Start acting like the person who already has what you want. Wake up earlier, cut distractions, speak with clarity, study your craft, treat your goal like it's a sacred responsibility, not just a fantasy. Because the version of you who is prepared, the one who deserves the reward, already exists. You're not trying to create that version, you're trying to reveal it. And you do that through consistent, patient, intelligent preparation. Over time, through repetition, through faith, and through action. There's a power that awakens the moment you align preparation with vision. You begin to move with quiet certainty. You no longer chase results, you attract them. You become the kind of person who doesn't ask the world to give him something, he gives first. And because he gives, he receives. Because he serves, he is promoted. Because he prepares, he is trusted. And this is not just success, it is fulfillment. Because your reward now becomes a reflection of who you've become, not just what you've received. And when this truth sinks into your bones, you realize the greatest prize is not the goal, it's the transformation that came with becoming ready. So now I'll ask you again. Are you preparing? Not just wishing, not just talking, but truly preparing. Because life sees what you do in the dark. It hears what you say when no one's watching. It knows when you've done the work. And when you have, you don't need to shout it. The results will speak, the doors will open, the right people will appear, and the outcome will feel inevitable. Because you did what 95% never do. You prepared first. So take these words today and write your next declaration in the comments. I prepare quietly. I receive boldly. I am already who I need to be. Now that you've made the decision and you've begun the quiet work of preparation, the next question is this. What drives it all? What sustains the early mornings, the disciplined focus, the unshakable persistence when nothing seems to be changing yet? The answer is desire. True, deep, burning desire. Not a casual preference. Not a wish you express one day and forget the next, but a focused, intentional, white-hot desire that becomes the central fire in your spirit. Because without desire, preparation becomes a burden. Without desire, asking is hollow. Without desire, no law will move in your favor. The man or woman who gets what they ask for is always the one who wanted it enough to pursue it through boredom, through doubt, and through delay. And if your desire is strong enough, nothing can stop you. Not time, not circumstance, not opposition. But desire in its purest form must be fed. It must be stoked like a flame. Left alone, even the brightest inner fire will dwindle and fade. That's why you must return to your vision daily. See it, speak it, feel it. Remind yourself what's at stake. Imagine your family living in abundance. Picture yourself walking into that opportunity you once thought impossible. Hear the applause of your own soul as you become the person you were born to be. This is not fantasy. This is fuel. And just like an athlete replays the moment of victory in his mind long before it happens, so must you replay your success until it becomes inevitable. The mind cannot resist a vision it sees with enough intensity and repetition. And so I must tell you the truth. Many people fail, not because they lack ability, but because they lack desire. They want, but not enough. They're interested, but not committed. They flirt with their future instead of marrying it. And when resistance comes, as it always does, they retreat. But desire, real desire, doesn't retreat. It adapts, it climbs, it finds a way. The man who wants it badly enough will read more, train more, sacrifice more, and rise earlier. He will endure mockery. He will be misunderstood. He will walk alone if necessary. Because the goal is not negotiable. The desire is too strong. The flame cannot be extinguished. So the third law is this: your desire must become your discipline. And when your desire is high, discipline becomes easy. People think motivation leads to action, but it is action fueled by desire that leads to momentum. And momentum is the secret few ever taste. Once you have it, you are carried by it. And once you're carried by it, you become unstoppable. But that begins with a spark, and that spark must be fanned into fire. So I ask you now, what do you want so deeply that you are willing to endure discomfort, delay, even disapproval to achieve it? What do you desire so fully that you'd trade short-term ease for long-term elevation? The answer to that question will reveal whether you're still dreaming or whether you've begun the asking that changes destinies. The mistake most make is they think desire is just emotional. It's not, it's practical. It is measured not by how much you say you want something, but by what you're willing to endure to receive it. The man who says, "I want to be wealthy," but won't manage his time or his spending, he does not desire it. The woman who says, "I want a great relationship," but won't develop honesty or emotional depth, she does not desire it. Real desire is always backed by proof, by effort, by habits, by sacrifice. And if you look at your life today and do not see those things, then don't lie to yourself. You may want the results, but you do not yet have the desire that unlocks them. And that's okay, because desire can be developed. It is not a gift, it is a muscle. And like all muscles, it grows through use. So how do you build desire? You begin by immersing yourself in your vision. Read the books, watch the masters, surround yourself with excellence. Stop exposing your mind to mediocrity. Stop filling your time with conversations that make you smaller. You cannot expect greatness while you consume what makes you weak. Every day, you are either building desire or draining it. You are either feeding the part of you that wants more or feeding the part that's settled. And the longer you feed the wrong part, the dimmer your fire becomes. But the moment you make the shift, when you begin to speak your vision aloud, when you start surrounding yourself with driven people, when you begin to act like it's already yours, that's when the flame reignites. And you begin to move, not from pressure but from fire. One of the most powerful tools to stoke desire is environment. Show me the 5 people you spend the most time with, and I'll tell you the temperature of your desire. You cannot maintain high standards in low-vibe environments. You cannot keep your fire burning when you're surrounded by water. The people around you should remind you of who you are becoming, not who you've been. If your environment doesn't challenge you, inspire you, or reflect your vision, change it. Even if that means solitude, sometimes the most powerful growth happens in silence, away from the noise. You must protect your fire because it is your life's engine. Without it, nothing moves, nothing happens. But with it, doors open, courage rises, and life begins to respond. Let me tell you something you may never have heard before. Desire is a divine signal. It is not random, it is not selfish, it is guidance. The dream that won't leave you, the goal you return to again and again, the vision that haunts your quiet moments, that is your soul whispering. That is life trying to tell you, this is the path. Do not ignore it. Do not suppress it. Do not apologize for it. Fan that flame. Listen to it, let it grow until it becomes impossible to deny. Because the more you honor it, the more aligned your actions become. And when your actions align with your highest desire, you move into flow, into power, into creation, and you begin to live, not by reaction, but by design. So today, I want you to write another declaration. Not just a comment, but a commitment. Say it with full belief. Declare it wherever you are. Let this be your alignment with the third principle. Say, "My desire is my fuel. My vision is my flame. I am lit from within." Write it, speak it, live it. And when resistance comes, and it will, return to those words. Because they are not just phrases. They are signals. And when repeated, they remind you who you are, what you're after, and why you must keep going. If you remember nothing else from today's message, remember this. The world belongs to those who want it most, not in theory, in practice, in preparation, in decision, in persistence. Those who ask with their feet, their hands, their schedule, their thoughts. Those who ask not just once, but again and again, through discipline, vision, and fire. And now you know the power to ignite your future is already inside you. The only question is, will you burn for it? By now you've made the decision, begun the preparation, and stoked the inner fire of desire. These are the roots. But what turns roots into branches, branches into fruit, and fruit into legacy is action. Consistent, disciplined, intelligent action. The kind of action that isn't always visible, that isn't always rewarded right away, but that compounds quietly in the background until one day, everything you ask for begins to arrive at once, and people call it luck. But you and I will know the truth. You planted, you watered, you acted, and now the harvest comes. You see, life does not reward potential, it rewards action. Potential is what you're born with. Action is what you choose. And those who act, who move when it's inconvenient, who work when others rest, who show up even when doubt whispers, those are the ones who get what they ask for. The problem with most people is they spend too much time asking and too little time moving. They confuse information with implementation. They think if they read another book, or watch another video, or listen to another speech, their life will change. But information is only power when it is applied. The moment you take action, any action, you begin to move energy. You begin to tell life, "I'm serious." That doesn't mean you always get it right. You won't. You'll make mistakes. You'll fall. But action is the proof that you've truly decided, because once a decision is made, action must follow, or the decision was never real. So today, the fourth principle is this: motion over hesitation. Act your way into clarity. Move your way into confidence. Don't wait for the perfect moment. The act of doing creates the momentum you're waiting for. Let me give you something practical. There is a habit that all high performers, successful creators, and purpose-driven people share. It is the habit of daily action aligned with their vision. They do something every day that moves the needle. Not once a week, not when they feel like it. Every single day, because they understand the compounding power of effort. One focused hour a day, applied with purpose, is 365 hours a year. That's 9 40-hour work weeks. Most people waste that scrolling, drifting, doubting. But you are now among the few. You will begin to treat your time as sacred. You will begin to see every hour of action not just as movement, but as investment. And when you stack those investments over time, you become a force too consistent to ignore. But I must warn you, action requires courage. Because once you move, you will encounter resistance. Fear will rise, doubt will whisper. The path will not always be smooth. But you must keep moving. The first step is always the hardest. That's where most people freeze. But once you begin, momentum becomes your ally. And with momentum, the things that once intimidated you become routine. You look back and wonder why you hesitated at all. So wherever you are right now, ask yourself, what is one thing I can do today right now that brings me closer to my vision? Not tomorrow, not next week, now. Because the best way to build belief is not by affirmations alone, but by action that reinforces who you are becoming. And here is the deeper truth. Action is how we prove to ourselves that we deserve what we're asking for. When you move, you send a message to your subconscious mind. I am the type of person who does this. And your identity begins to shift. You no longer need to convince yourself. You become the kind of person who builds, who shows up, who follows through. And that is powerful beyond measure. Because identity, once aligned with action, creates behavior without resistance. You don't have to force yourself. You flow. Not because it's easy, but because it's who you are now. And every day you act in alignment with your goal. You close the gap between who you are and who you've asked to become. Now let's go one level deeper. There are two kinds of action, scattered and strategic. Scattered action is busy work. It feels productive but leads nowhere. Strategic action is focused, measured, purposeful. It begins with clarity, is fueled by desire, and is sustained by commitment. That's what you must cultivate now. Strategic action, not everything matters. Not every task moves the needle. But the right few, done with precision, create results beyond anything you thought possible. And here's the secret: you already know what those few actions are. Deep down, you know the three things you've been avoiding. The phone call you haven't made, the email you've been putting off, the skill you need to develop, the truth you need to confront. Do those first. Daily, relentlessly, without excuse. That is the path. If you're still with me now, it's because something inside you knows this is the time. Not next month, not someday. Now, so I want you to write this in the comments, make it your fourth declaration. Speak it aloud as you write it. I move in alignment. I act with courage. My life responds to my discipline. Write it with certainty. Let your fingers confirm what your mind believes. You see, the moment you declare who you are and follow that declaration with action, the world begins to shift. Your confidence rises, your energy elevates, and you begin to feel the joy that comes from moving in truth. There is no feeling quite like it, when your vision and your actions match. That is when you know you are finally becoming. And if you're still tempted to wait, to hesitate, to delay your first step until it's perfect, let me offer you this. Perfection is the enemy of progress. Life rewards movement. It does not wait for your readiness. It rewards your willingness. And if you're willing, truly willing, to take the first step today, right now, then you'll be met with energy you didn't know you had. Ideas will begin to arrive. Support will appear. Clarity will grow. But only after you act, not before. This is the great paradox. Action creates clarity, not the other way around. And once you understand this, hesitation dies. You become the person who moves first, who acts when others wait, and that person always wins. So today, make a decision to act. Not to talk, not to think, but to move. Do the hard thing first. Do it scared. Do it imperfectly. But do it because the longer you wait, the colder the trail becomes. But once you take that first step, the second becomes easier. The third becomes habit. And soon, you are no longer the person who hesitates, you are the person who executes. And that kind of person always attracts opportunity. Not because of luck, but because of consistency. And if you'll take that step today, right now, you'll discover that everything you've been asking for has been waiting on the other side of your action all along. Now that you've stepped into action, felt the first tremors of motion, and tasted the quiet satisfaction that only comes from doing, you are ready to meet the fifth principle, one of the most essential of all: persistence. Not just movement, but continued movement. Not just action, but sustained action in the face of delay, silence, and uncertainty. The truth is simple. Most people start strong. They begin with fire, with ambition, with enthusiasm. But enthusiasm is cheap. It is persistence that is rare. And in the world of achievement, it is not the man who begins that wins. It is the man who continues. The man who gets up on the 50th day with the same discipline he had on the first. The man who moves even when the results are invisible. The man who treats silence not as rejection, but as preparation. That man becomes unstoppable. The difference between those who rise and those who fall is not found in their dreams, it is found in their stamina. Because the dream will fade if not fueled daily. The vision will blur if not acted upon consistently. You do not reach the mountain by jumping. You reach it by climbing one step at a time without losing heart. Persistence is the test. It is life asking, do you mean it? Will you continue when the applause stops? Will you work when no one's watching? Will you press forward when your emotions are tired, your mind is cloudy, and your results haven't yet caught up? Because that is what separates the few from the many. Persistence is more than endurance. It is a declaration. It says, I have chosen this path, and I will walk it, no matter how long it takes. And here is a law I want you to remember because it governs this entire stage of your journey. Those who persist win. That's not motivational fluff. That's reality. Think of any man or woman who's accomplished something worth remembering. Their story is not one of smooth ascent. It is a story of storms weathered, of nights endured, of doors slammed shut only to be knocked on again. because life respects the one who won't go away. Not the loudest, not the most talented, but the one who keeps showing up, who keeps planting, who keeps building, who keeps speaking life over their vision when everyone else has gone silent. That person, the one who persists, is the one who receives. Let me tell you something that may shock you. Most people quit not because they failed, but because they almost succeeded. They were 3 feet from goal. They were days from a breakthrough. They were one more call, one more video, one more email away from the tipping point. But they stopped. They let discouragement overpower faith. They mistook delay for denial. And in that moment, they gave away the reward that had already been set aside for them. Don't be that person. Decide right now that you will persist until it breaks. Persist until it shifts. Persist until the vision in your mind becomes the life you live. That is what greatness requires. Not just initiation, but follow through. Persistence is not about speed, it's about rhythm. It's the rhythm of a man who works every day, not for praise, but from principle. The man who no longer needs motivation, because he has identity. He no longer says, I hope I can. He says, this is who I am. And because of that, he doesn't stop when it's hard. He doesn't give up when it's boring. He doesn't look for permission or applause. He keeps showing up. And eventually the results have no choice but to appear. Because the law is in motion, the law that says, as you sow, so shall you reap. And the man who keeps sowing keeps reaping, whether the world notices or not. So let me offer you a simple challenge. For the next 30 days, commit to one act of discipline every day that aligns with your goal. It could be writing 1 page, making 1 call, learning 1 new skill, exercising for 1 hour. Whatever your vision demands, do it daily, without skipping, without excuse. Because the magic is not in intensity, it is in consistency. Intensity will get you excited. Consistency will get you results. And if you can do this, if you can persist with quiet discipline, you will wake up one morning and realize something powerful. You've become a different person, not because of what you received, but because of who you had to become to earn it. And as you walk this path, doubt will visit, fear will whisper, fatigue will press on your shoulders. But when that happens, I want you to speak this declaration aloud and type it in the comments below. I keep showing up. I keep sowing seeds. I am unstoppable because I do not quit. Say it until your bones believe it. Because the act of persistence is spiritual. It is sacred. It is the soul refusing to shrink in the face of resistance. It is the heart saying, I know what I saw. I know what I was promised, and I will not bow to temporary delay. The world around you will always test your persistence, not to punish you, but to prepare you, to make sure you can handle the weight of what you asked for. Because great dreams come with great responsibility, and the only way to build the strength to carry them is through the daily discipline of showing up, regardless of mood, regardless of circumstance. You become the type of person life can trust, not because of what you say, but because of what you do, and in doing you are transformed. Persistence isn't about forcing your way through, it's about becoming someone who cannot be stopped. So now I ask you, can you be trusted with what you asked for? Not in theory, but in practice. Will you keep going when the initial fire fades? Will you continue when the results take longer than expected? Because if you will, then nothing can stop you. Not opinions, not setbacks, not even failure. Because persistence always wins in the end. It is the most underestimated form of power in the world. Quiet, consistent, unyielding. It is the language life understands. So speak that language now. Not with your words, but with your work. Show up again and again and again. Now that persistence has taken root and you've begun to build your momentum through disciplined action, we come to a principle that seems simple but holds immense power. The principle of service. Most people misunderstand success. They chase after the rewards without understanding that every true reward is earned through the value we provide to others. Success, wealth, influence, and fulfillment, all of it, is a mirror reflecting your contribution to the world. You do not succeed by chance. You succeed by service, and the depth of your service determines the height of your success. If you want to receive more, you must give more. Not in a manipulative way, not in the spirit of transaction, but from a deep and sincere desire to be of value. Because the world always rewards those who solve problems, who ease burdens, who give more than is expected. That is the path to greatness. There is a law, ancient and unbreakable, that governs this. Your rewards in life will always be in exact proportion to your service. Not your ambition, not your intentions. Your service. If your income is low, look at your service. If your influence is small, examine your impact. If your growth has plateaued, ask yourself how deeply you are helping others. Because the answer is always there. The man who rises in life is the man who makes himself indispensable, who becomes a source of answers, of encouragement, of results. And the beautiful part is that you can begin today, right now. No matter your job, your title, your industry, you can choose to serve more, better, deeper. And in doing so, you will distinguish yourself from the 95% who are merely doing the minimum. There is no such thing as something for nothing. You do not get rich, you earn it. And you earn it by giving others what they truly value. That's why the wealthiest people in the world are not always the smartest, but they are often the most useful. They've learned how to package their knowledge, their experience, their solutions, in a way that blesses the lives of others. And in return, life blesses them. This is not philosophy. This is cause and effect. And it works whether you believe it or not. You may resist it, you may try to find shortcuts, you may even attempt to cheat it, but the law remains. If you want more, serve more. And this is why service must become a habit. Not something you do once in a while to feel good, but something that becomes your identity. The best workers are not those who clock in and do the job. They are the ones who take ownership, who see themselves as leaders regardless of position, who understand that every task is a chance to make a difference. That's how you rise. Not by waiting to be noticed, but by choosing to make yourself valuable. And when you do that long enough, consistently enough, you begin to build a reputation. And reputation is a magnet. It draws opportunity. It attracts trust. It becomes the currency of the high-level game. Let me give you something concrete. Whatever you do today, do it better than you did it yesterday. Bring more attention, more excellence, more heart. If you're in business, serve your customers like they are your only customer. If you're in school, treat every lesson like it's the key to your future. If you're building something online, care more than your competition. Go deeper, give more. And if you do this daily, over time your name will become associated with quality. People will begin to seek you out, not because you shouted the loudest, but because your service spoke the clearest. That is how you build something real, something that lasts, something that pays you long after the work is done. And if you're wondering, how do I know if I'm serving enough? Ask yourself this. If I were the customer, would I be thrilled? If I were the person on the receiving end of this effort, would I feel seen, helped, understood? If not, then there's room to grow. And that's good news, because growth is power. Every day is a chance to stretch, to give, to improve. That's the kind of life worth building. Not one that's chasing dollars, but one that's creating impact. And the irony is, when you live that way, the money comes anyway. The recognition arrives, the respect deepens, because you earned it, not demanded it. So I want you to write this down and say it aloud. Post it in the comments so it sinks in and becomes a part of you. I serve with excellence. I give more than I take. My rewards match my impact. These words are not decoration, they are activation. They shift your identity from consumer to contributor, from follower to leader, from average to exceptional. And when you embrace them, your actions will begin to change. You'll stop asking, "What can I get?" and begin asking, "How can I help?" That is the mindset of a builder, a leader, a master. And it is the bridge between where you are and where you want to go. Service is the one thing that no one can take from you. You may lose your job, your money, even your health. But the decision to serve, to be of value, to contribute, that is forever yours. It gives you purpose when circumstances change. It gives you power when everything else is uncertain. Because you can always give, you can always bless, you can always make things better for someone else. And when you live from that space, life begins to move differently. Doors open, conversations start. Resources appear. Because you are no longer a beggar, you are a builder. And builders always rise. So the question I leave you with today is simple. How can you serve more? Not later, now. How can you make today better for someone else? How can you exceed expectations? How can you pour excellence into everything you touch? Because the answer to that question is the same as the answer to your dreams. It is through service that you rise. It is through impact that you earn. and it is through consistency that you become unforgettable. So choose today to serve not out of duty, but out of power. Serve with fire, with precision, with humility, and watch how life begins to multiply your efforts in ways you never imagined. Up to this point, we've explored desire, decision, preparation, action, persistence, and service. These are the pillars of transformation. But now we arrive at something deeper, something invisible to the eye, but unmistakable to the spirit. It's the seventh principle, and it governs every moment of success, every lasting change, every life of meaning, identity. You will never rise above the image you hold of yourself. You may dream, act, persist, and serve, but if the story you carry in your mind is one of smallness, of limitation, of doubt, then sooner or later your results will shrink to match it. This is the truth most men never face. They blame the economy, the timing, the competition. But the real gatekeeper is not out there, it's in here. It's the self-image, often shaped in childhood, refined through repetition, and locked in place by fear. And until you replace it, nothing changes. Here's what most people do. They try to achieve more without becoming more. They chase goals with the same identity that created their current reality. And so they sabotage their efforts without realizing why. It's not because they don't want success, it's because part of them doesn't believe they deserve it. And belief is everything, because what you believe about yourself determines what you expect, and what you expect shapes what you pursue, how you behave, how you respond to failure, and ultimately what you allow yourself to receive. So if you want to change your life, you must first change the way you see yourself. You must choose a new identity, not tomorrow, not gradually, now. This is the power of conscious self-definition. When you decide who you are, not based on your past, but on your potential, you begin to live into that identity. This is why affirmations matter, why visualization matters, why the words you speak about yourself matter. Because every word reinforces a pattern. Every image trains your subconscious. Every repetition etches a new groove into the mind. You're not lying to yourself when you say, "I am powerful," even if you don't feel it yet. You are choosing to become it. And the subconscious doesn't argue, it accepts what is repeated with emotion. That's why you must speak your new identity often with conviction and back it with behavior. Because when your words and actions align, you create truth. Let me make this simple. You must become the person who already has the life you want. Not pretend. Become. If the life you desire is one of strength, then you must start thinking, moving, speaking, and acting like someone who is strong. Not in arrogance, but in clarity. If your vision includes wealth, begin seeing yourself as someone who handles money wisely, who serves generously, who earns with dignity. If your future involves leadership, then carry yourself like a leader now. Speak with purpose, act with decisiveness. Develop your character so that it can sustain your influence. Because when your identity rises, everything else must follow. Your habits change, your posture shifts, your standards increase, and life cannot help but respond. But how do you shift identity? The same way a sculptor reveals a statue, by removing everything that doesn't belong. You are not becoming someone new. You are revealing who you were always capable of being. The doubt, the fear, the limitations, those were inherited, absorbed, learned. But they are not you. And so your task is to let them go, to drop the old stories, to stop rehearsing the failures, to stop identifying with weakness, and instead to choose, deliberately and daily, the person you know you are becoming. It may feel foreign at first. You may feel like an imposter. That's normal, because you're stepping out of the familiar. But stay with it. Repetition creates familiarity. Familiarity creates belief, and belief shapes identity. Now I want you to pause and write this in the comments. Say it aloud. Let it become a part of you. I am already who I chose to be. I think, act, and move from my future, not my past. Say it again, slowly, with conviction. Let that truth echo in your mind, because once you truly believe it, everything changes. You no longer need to force motivation. It flows from identity. You don't have to beg for consistency. It emerges from who you are. That's the power of identity. It's the foundation beneath every action. And when it is strong, the rest becomes effortless. Let's go even deeper. Most people live their lives reacting from an old version of themselves. Their decisions are shaped by past failures. Their expectations are limited by old rejections. Their energy is drained by invisible shame. and so they play small, not because they want to, but because they've never rewritten the script. Today you rewrite it. You step into the driver's seat. You take control of the narrative. You choose new language, new posture, new self-respect, because you realize that every moment is an opportunity to practice being the version of you that your future requires. Not someday, but now. This is not a dress rehearsal. This is the performance, and the curtain has already risen. And if you find yourself slipping back into self-doubt, into comparison, into old habits, don't shame yourself. Simply return to the truth. Return to the identity you chose. Return to the words you spoke. Return to the vision you declared. This is not about perfection. It's about alignment. And every time you return, you strengthen the connection. You reinforce the new story. You build resilience. And in time, your old identity loses its grip. The self-sabotage fades. The resistance softens. And what felt once impossible becomes natural. That's the process. That's how transformation becomes permanent. So let me ask you plainly, who are you choosing to be? Not in theory, in practice, in voice, in attitude, in effort. Because that choice made and remade each day is more powerful than any circumstance. It is stronger than failure, bigger than your past, and more real than any obstacle in your way. You are not a prisoner of your history. You are a sculptor of your destiny. And every thought, every action, every declaration is a chisel in your hand. So sculpt boldly, live deliberately, and hold yourself to the image of greatness that you've chosen, not once, but always. And now we arrive at the final principle, the closing arc of this journey. If you've come this far, then you already know. You are not the same person who began this process. You've made decisions, you've prepared, served, endured, and declared a new identity. But there is one more truth to embrace, one final law that unlocks the full power of all the others: faith in action. Not blind belief, not passive hope, but faith expressed through bold, repeated, courageous steps. You see, the most powerful belief is not what you whisper to yourself in quiet moments, it's what you're willing to do, especially when the outcome isn't guaranteed. The man who takes action while still afraid, the woman who moves before all the evidence is in, that's faith. And it is this kind of faith that turns thoughts into things, dreams into outcomes, and visions into visible, tangible results. Faith in action means moving forward even when the details aren't perfect. It means showing up when you feel unsure. It means starting the business, writing the book, applying for the opportunity. Not because you're certain, but because you're committed. And this is where most people fall short. They wait for the conditions to be right. They wait to feel confident. They wait until the fear disappears. But life doesn't work that way. The bridge between desire and manifestation is motion. And without motion, everything else collapses. You can have the clearest vision in the world, the strongest preparation, the boldest declarations, but without action, nothing happens. Action is the proof. It is the demonstration that your faith is real. And the moment you act, the universe responds. You'll notice something strange once you begin acting in faith. Life will start to shift. Things will move. People will show up. Circumstances will align. Not all at once, but undeniably. This is the invisible mechanism of momentum. It does not reward the hesitant. It rewards the initiator, the one who says, I may not have all the answers, but I will not sit still. And that person becomes magnetic. They attract what they need, because their energy signals certainty. Not perfection, certainty. And from that place, doors open, opportunities unfold, and progress becomes inevitable. So, if you've been stuck, if you've been waiting, if you've been preparing endlessly, now is the time. Move. But don't confuse action with busyness. This is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters, consistently. It's about eliminating the unnecessary and pouring your time, your focus, your effort into the things that build your future. The great enemy of purpose is not laziness, it is distraction. And you must guard yourself ruthlessly against the temptation to stay busy without moving forward. Activity is not accomplishment. Motion is not momentum. Real faith in action means taking the next right step, and then another and another, until your entire life has shifted direction, not in one leap, but in thousands of intentional movements that compound into transformation. And if you're wondering where to begin, start small. But start now. Send the message, record the video, offer the service, Have the conversation. Make the pitch. Write the first page. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for validation. Don't wait for confidence. Action generates confidence. Action creates clarity. Action builds belief. And in a world that's conditioned you to hesitate, to seek approval, to second-guess your decision to move is a revolution. A declaration that you are no longer available for stagnation, no longer subscribing to smallness, no longer tolerating delay. You are a person of movement, of mission, of bold, unapologetic forward motion. And so we close this series with one final declaration, one that must be engraved into your heart, written in the comments, spoken each morning, and lived with every breath. I move in faith. I act with power. I receive without fear. These are not just words. This is your new operating system, a new foundation, a code that rewires your nervous system and realigns your destiny. Speak it aloud. Let it ripple through your body. Let it change how you walk, how you speak, how you decide. Because the moment you claim this identity, the world must adapt. The same way water bends to the shape of the vessel, life will begin to take the form of your new rhythm. You see, the universe is waiting for your movement. It responds not to your wishes, but to your walk, to your steps, to your momentum. You don't need more signs. You don't need another green light. You are the green light, and this entire journey has been preparing you to go. Everything we've covered, clarity, preparation, emotional mastery, identity, consistency, service, it all points to this, movement. And so move, not perfectly, not loudly, just forward. Move with integrity, move with urgency, move with belief, because the one who moves cannot be stopped. Let this be your legacy. Not that you waited for life to happen, but that you chose to make it happen. Not that you were always sure, but that you always moved, that you acted in the dark, that you trusted in the silence, that you walked when others stood still, because that is what separates the fulfilled from the frustrated. The fulfilled took the risk. They stepped out. They stumbled. They got up. And in doing so, they received everything the hesitant left on the table. Let that not be your story. You are not here to wonder. You are here to win. So as you go forward, take everything you've learned and distill it into a single commitment that you will no longer sit in the audience of your own life. You are on the stage now. You are the actor, the writer, the director, and from this point on, the play will unfold as you decide. You get what you ask for, but only if you do this first. You must move. You must step. You must act. And if you do daily, faithfully, fearlessly, your reward will not be withheld. Not by fate, not by luck, not by time, because what you ask for when backed by identity and motion must arrive. And finally, if this message has carried any power into your life, if it has awakened something real within you, then share it. Like it, subscribe. Leave your declaration in the comments. Not just for you, but for the next person who needs this fire. Because when we speak our truths aloud, we give others permission to rise, and you, my friend, were never meant to rise alone.